What's going on, guys? Kyle Reed here with episode number 3 of Mat Time Sport Karate Conversation. And I told you this week we were bringing a banger out. We have 12-time sport karate champion, 3-time karate combat champion, doctor in physical therapy, owner of Turbo Sport Performance, owner of Turbo Kickboxing Academy, and also a wonderful father, a brand new father, and a loving husband, but also the man that's head kick was heard around the world and replayed everywhere. Mr. Ross Levine, we are super excited to have you here, sir.
Thank you, man. You forgot handsome.
Oh, I did. I
You
did. I
you
don't know who's
forgot
more
handsome.
handsome, though. You were the gentleman next to you. You got a little
This guy right
competition
here.
there.
I'm catching up with my haircut's looking a little closer and closer. But yeah, man, we got holiday spirit here and at Turbo Kickboxing Academy. So, I had to bring him on, show him off in the interview.
Yeah, we are getting close to that Halloween time.
Yes.
Does the baby got an outfit? What's the
Oh
baby
yeah,
dressed
so
up?
we did our trunk or treat last weekend, and we did. It was funny because I'm starting to realize how old I am. I'm 38, but me and my wife and Drew, we did. I was Tigger, she was Pooh, and we had Piglet as a baby, and a lot of our kids had no idea who any of us were. I was just a tiger, and Maddie, they had no idea who she was, and they didn't know what Piglet was. So it is what it is. We're getting to that point now.
Where you're gonna have to be Blippy or Bluey or
Listen,
whatever they
I
are.
just figured out what 6'7" is. So like,
Oh.
I'm learning quick.
Yeah, and teaching children, you got to catch on to these new slangs very
That's
very
right.
quickly.
That's right.
And you only got about 2 or 3 months to be with that slang, or you're behind, or you're
I
behind.
know. Now I'm thinking I got to think back to like what was the weird stuff that we did that all of our parents were like, "Oh my God, it's so silly," but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
We're
man.
super excited. We got a lot to talk about.
Cool.
You've had a great history with this sport as being one of the legends, one of the guys who molded their way into that full contact realm, along with how to take care of your body and being one of very healthy most of the time for most of your career that I've been around you since I was 12, 13.
Mhm.
That attention to detail that you really focused on with strength conditioning, rehab, and things like that. But we'll get into that. Um, and then we also got to talk about the other exciting news that you dropped on everyone last week or so.
Yes, sir.
But first off, when you were coming out of the sport karate realm, how
Mhm.
did you know? I mean, you were in school, you were going to be a doctor. How did you know that the full contact realm or the kickboxing realm was the next avenue for you?
I didn't. I was always interested in full contact. Like I would watch it. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad would show me like the original K1 Grand Prix was always on like ESPN or whatever channel it was. So I used to watch all of that, the kickboxing shows they did over in Japan, and that was amazing to watch. I was always captivated by that. But I was always so deeply involved in sport karate and with the team that I had in New York with Coach Jotty and just like I was successful, so I never really dove into it. When I moved away to grad school, I was up in New Hampshire, and there were nobody around for me to really keep up that same level of training to be as successful as I was. So I knew that I had to do something just to stay in shape. And I went over. Actually, Coach Jotty mentioned to a friend of his to me. His name was Ed Carr. He runs Team Link, also a Tokyo Joe school. And we just started training, and I was taking their kickboxing classes just to stay in shape and kind of give me a mental break from grad school. And then, it turned into like, hey, you're pretty good. Like, why don't you come and train with like our competition team? And then, they're like, hey, you're pretty good. Why don't you spar with them? And then I'm like tooling on these guys, doing like my side kicks and like hook rounds, and they didn't know what to do with it. And they're like, you're pretty good. You should fight. And I was like, all right, this is fun. It's different. And I just fell in love with it. It was a new challenge. I think people forget that I did sport karate since I was like 12. My first competition on the NASCA circuit was 12 years old, until I was 31. It's a long time to be doing that sport.
No, absolutely. And finding, like you just mentioned, like finding that new challenge. But also for a long time of your career, sport karate was an outlet for you.
Yeah.
Was that decompression, that way to kind of release those feelings of those emotions. I can go to the gym and I can hit pads, I can spar. So being in
Mhm.
grad school, I couldn't even imagine the extra sense of like, I just need to hit something. I need to train. I need to get that blood flowing.
Yeah.
And the full contact end really kind of allows you to release that kind of mentality a little bit.
Yeah, it was really just as a means of me being able to focus because, when I first started grad school, everyone was telling me, oh, the workload is so heavy. You're not going to have time to train. You're not going to do this. So I believed the hype and I stopped training altogether when I first got there. And honestly, my grades were suffering. I mean, I wasn't failing out of class, but, passing in grad school in that medical program was 83. If you got an 83, you failed. So you needed to get above 83 just to pass your exams on a regular basis. So it was a high stress environment. And I was kind of like teetering in that like low to mid 80s for some of my first semester. And I was like, I need to go train. Like, I gotta just get out of the house. I can't sit and study for hours and hours and hours. It's just not my type. So yeah, I started training and fell in love with it. All of a sudden my grades started going like this again. And I was able to get back to where I needed to be. Same, honestly, the same thing that we tell our young kids in class of like, stay in here, parents, like keep them in here. It will affect their grades. And it does. You just got to stay focused.
I mean, and you're a perfect product of the example of you can do both. I
Mm,
mean,
yeah.
there's a couple of guys who have taken it. There's a long list, but like recently, yourself and Avery Plowden, being a lawyer, like you guys showed that you can do schooling at the highest level, but
Yeah.
also be competitive at a high level. Also, it's not doable. It's just how you manage your time and how you manage your
Mm.
workload and what you put over your priorities of, do I want to hang out with my friends for this hour and a half, or do I want to go train, or do I want to keep this or that or something of that sort.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we were like most proud of as Impex. We had the most like highest educated fighters out of any team in the circuit. I obviously had my doctorate degree. Jody is a successful business owner. You had Avery, a lawyer. You had Jason Grenier was owning a big business up in Canada. And he just merged and became like a major partner now recently too. So congrats to him. Morgan had a high level job, at the company she was working for. Same thing with Verona. Like we all had high level education degrees, and you can do it both. And also that success translates over to athletics. So it's super important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's always, like I said, like I even, like we said, like you said, we mentioned to our younger generations that you can do it, but it
Yeah.
also it's what's instilled from you at an early age.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I've been around you and your father and your mother. I've had long conversations with your father and mother. And they always speak their mind. They never tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you the truth.
Right. That's
But I
true.
think that really helped, what I would say, helped mold you into that same workload and that same passion.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, it's that's stuff that we have now as instructors. We have the benefit of influencing all the other kids in our classes too. So just the same cycle, man. Just kind of passing on the good information.
Yeah, the circle of life. It's true in all factors around here
Big
in this
time.
world. So we talked about a little bit about prioritizing and time management. I, being a coach on Revolution, have the responsibility of a lot of junior athletes,
Mm,
um, and I always stress to them their strength conditioning and their rehab. Like, how many are you squatting? Are you doing lunges? Are you doing simple things like that, and not just putting
yeah.
on the gear and hitting mitts? So, in your translation of what you've done with your career, how much success did that bring you prioritizing those types of things instead of just going into the gym and hitting mitts or hitting sparring and negating all that other extra things?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge shift in the results when I started consistently lifting weights. And the way I try and explain it to people is you can you can drive a Honda Civic really fast, but it'll never be a Ferrari, right? It just doesn't have the horsepower. A Honda Civic will go 120 miles an hour. It's going to break, right? But you take a Ferrari and that thing is built to go because it's got more horsepower. It's got a bigger engine block. It's got the proper wheels, like the proper frame. So that is the difference between strength and conditioning and not strength and conditioning. Like you can take someone who doesn't do any type of strength training and you can make them go fast. They can be explosive, they can be strong, but for a very short amount of time, and then they get sick, they get injured, their body breaks down, right? And then the ceiling is capped, right? It's a low ceiling. So you take that same individual and you put him into 12 weeks, 24 weeks, a year of strength and conditioning, and all of a sudden you see the output increase, and then not just the output in performance standpoint, but also their overall health and wellness, right? Their body composition changes. Generally, when you're in a very detailed exercise routine, naturally you want to eat better because it's just reflective of what you're doing, right? So it just all encompassing. It helps everything. You get sick less, you get injured less, your body becomes more durable, and you perform better. I mean, it's what's not to enjoy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the recovery, I feel like, from injuries
Mm.
um is a shorter time span sometimes when you're prepared that way. That,
Yeah,
hey,
it
I
depends.
twisted my ankle or twisted my knee or this or that, or someone who didn't build the muscles around that or
Right.
to train that. Now instead of, hey, you're going to be off for 10 days, now you're off for a month kind of thing.
Mm.
And we see that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, big injuries and major injuries happen to anybody. You look across the NFL, and these are arguably the most elite athletes in the world. Like those guys are absolute freaks in nature, and they still they hurt their ACLs. They hurt their Achilles, they hurt their meniscus. Stuff like that. Similar injuries that we get, but the day to day stuff, the smaller injuries. Maybe like a ligament strain, where if you weren't doing any type of consistent training, maybe you're right. That takes you out for 12 to 18 weeks versus maybe it wasn't as big of a grade injury if you were consistent, right? So those big injuries become small injuries when you're consistent with your weight training.
Definitely. And in the sport wise, I mean, we have a lot of kickers, and we have I don't want to say we're a predominantly kicking sport, but
Mm,
there are more kickers than punchers in our sport. So the chance of an ACL, an MCL, all those things are a little more at risk with being on one foot, pump kicking, things of that. So if you're not properly training those things and the high level, think about, you go over to Waco, you're trained in the States for one round, but you go overseas, now you got 2 rounds, you
multiple
got double the
rounds,
amount of
yeah.
fights and double the amount of output, like you mentioned, and
Mhm.
your body's not ready for it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
mentally want to be ready for it, but your body can't handle it.
sure. Yeah, I mean, your strength and conditioning, cardio training is always going to be most important. What's up, Maddox? What are you showing me, buddy?
Yeah, special guest here. Oh, he's playing race
Oh,
cars.
nice race car.
He's over here. Usually he's pretty good, but today, Mr. Ross, you must have piqued his interest
Nah, that's
in
all
pre
right.
conversations.
That's all right.
That he's like, I need to be involved in this one.
I'm all
Um,
for it.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, so moving into next question that I have, with all the events that we have our seasons could be, you can almost compete every weekend at a
Hmm.
different event, at a different state, at a different country with
Yeah,
our sport. How do you prioritize rehab over that quote unquote title that you're gonna miss, or that
sure.
recovery over those points you're gonna miss? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like a lot of times that some people prioritize, I need to at least show up to that tournament to get my fourth or fifth place for a couple points instead of missing it and kind of coming back. So how important would you
Mm.
factor in that rest and recovery?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think it's a blessing and a curse with how many events there are because I think the sport is more accessible now than it was when you and I were competing, right? However, it's almost become too accessible because I mean, let's face it, the sport is fun. It's not only great and fun from a physical aspect, but there's a huge social aspect to it too, where a lot of these kids, especially the youth competitors, even the adult competitors, right? Some of their closest friends and some of my closest friends have been made through the sport karate competition, right? So, of why wouldn't I want to go to this event this weekend and I'm going to see Kyle, and then Next weekend, oh, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to go see Troy Binns. And then, oh, next week we're going to go to California. I'm going to hang out with Jack. And then I'm going to go to Canada and hang out with Robbie. Like, these are all the people that, of course, I want to see them and hang out with them. So I think the social aspect kind of ruins that too. But when we strip all of that away and we think strictly performance, right? It is really, really necessary for people to understand, like, for you to get better, there has to be a period where you are not in competition mode, where you can focus on drilling, where you can focus on skill acquisition, you can focus on getting stronger and faster. That doesn't happen from tournament to tournament. You need a block of time. I mean, generally, if we talk about the medical model of healing, what all the textbooks will tell you, generally, if you have an injury, like a soft tissue injury, a muscle strain, a ligament sprain, something like that, we're looking at somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks of rehab time, right? If you're looking for body composition change, getting stronger, faster, more flexible, jumping higher, whatever, we're looking at more 8 to 10 weeks. You could go 10 weeks and go to 10 tournaments. You know what I mean? And then
Absolutely.
you just every time you go to a tournament, you hit the reset button, hit the reset button. So it becomes really tricky. I just made a post about a week and a half ago, right after Diamond Nationals, and I was like, hey, this is the closest you're gonna have to an off season ever. Because some people are gonna go to Toronto, but between diamonds, if we're talking the national tour, the next tournament after Diamonds is Toronto, and then after Toronto, you have a break until AKA. So this is the time. If you haven't done it all year, which most of us haven't, it's like, hey, you gotta get on this stuff now.
No, absolutely. And like you said, we have what, Diamonds was the second weekend of October, and Toronto is the second weekend of December. So that's almost 8 weeks of time to,
Yeah,
because and I know that being a top level competitor, there's very few chances within the season to make major adjustments to
right.
your game, to your well being, to whatever it is. You need to
Mhm.
just be at that. You pretty much have that skill set. A couple things maybe in that back pocket that you've been working on, but
Yeah.
not your A game. You're not coming to these events bringing your B, C, and D game of this
Well,
thing
listen,
I've
if
tried
you're
once.
if you're going out and you're winning every single event relatively easily, then hey, keep doing what you're doing. I still think you need to prioritize getting better because that's how you widen the gap. But if you're the competitor who's taking fifth place, fourth place, third place consistently, and you can't break through that gap. Well, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. Right. So if you don't give yourself the time to truly invest in yourself and your body, get stronger, get faster, develop new skills, I mean, you're never going to get over that hump. So, just doing it more isn't the answer. Right. That's just all that fixes is competition anxiety. It doesn't help you place higher, so, I get it though. Again, it's a very fine line. It's tough because the parents want them to do it too. Sometimes the parents want to do it more than the kid wants to do it. So, that's a whole nother can of worms to open up. But I truly think to lump it back into what we were initially talking about is taking breaks is really important, not just for your like mental and emotional and physical health, but also your ability to acquire new skills and get better. Sometimes we don't look at it like that. We just have our eyes on the next event.
Yeah, my saying that I've been using lot lately when I talk with Mr. Jeremy is you get what you give. Like, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I'm not giving 100, if I'm not giving 100%, or I'm not going to get 100%. Same thing like in the world of training wise. If I'm not giving, I'm not getting.
Yeah.
So I can't just show up to tournaments and expect to win. I got to give
Yeah.
that work to get there. Wise.
Yeah, no, you got to earn it. It's got to be earned.
Everything always. I mean, coming through the stable that we came through, we know we had some extra lumps of you earned everything there
Yeah,
with
for sure.
with Professor Jody there. I know. I remember graduating with a black eye because I earned that day.
You should have kept your hands up.
Yes, after the multiple leg kicks I ate too.
Happens, man. Happens to the best of us. Builds
Oh,
character.
always. Now I also the next stage, right? That we talked about the rest, but it's
Mm,
also sometimes the rush to come back from an injury. Oh, I'm
yeah.
feeling good. Oh, it doesn't bother me as much.
Mm,
I feel like a lot, like I've spoken to a lot of athletes at Diamonds because there was a couple that went down at Diamonds with hamstrings and this and that. And they were like,
yeah.
oh, I've been nursing it for 6, 7 weeks. I felt good. is there like a certain point where you say, you know what, I need to hold off a little longer? Or is that like, do you, because I know a lot of us athletes, we go to the doctor one or two times, get our prognosis, they tell us what it is, and then, okay, all I got to do is wait 6, 7 weeks. Perfect. All right, I'll wait my
Mhm.
6, 7 weeks. Is is sometimes too soon too no good?
Of course, yeah, yeah, and I think that's more of like where it becomes a case by case basis because again, you take someone who's been strength and conditioning consistently, they go to the gym, they're lifting weights, they're constantly working on self improvement with the same injury to someone who's pretty sedentary and just resting, yeah, their timetable is going to be vastly different, right? There's no right answer on like, okay, this injury is this amount of time. We can get close, but everyone's a little different based on their age, their injury history, their overall health and wellness, their nutrition, their rest. Like you can start, I can give you a laundry list, but in general, I think where people miss out is that just because you feel good doesn't mean you're better, right? And a lot of times, like the when you have somebody that can coach you that A understands your sport and B understands the injury and C understands the recovery process and how to get you strong again, if you have someone like that, they can test you properly and say, okay, if you need to do a round off flash, what are the things that we need to work on? Well, we have to work on the ability for you to be on your hands. We have to work on your landing mechanics, plyometrics, and inversion and single leg landing stability, right? So there's like a lot of layers that just get washed over because it's like, well, I feel better, so I'm going to go for it. You know, a perfect example. So I'm working with Tice Talbot right now. So Tice, really good fighter. He was on Team All Star for a little bit, initially from Gypsy. He tore his ACL, so he's been recovering from his ACL. And his first, 8 weeks or so was, oh no, maybe about 12 weeks was with kind of a general PT. Didn't know anything about the sport. Um, and then after 12 weeks, was like, yeah, you could start sparring and doing jujitsu and doing this. It's like, dude, you just tore your ACL 3 months ago. Like NFL athletes aren't coming back until 8, 9 months, and those guys have PT, strength and conditioning every day, and the highest level of drugs, medicine, rehab, like their facilities are top notch. You don't have that. So I told Tice, I was like, stop going to that guy because he's going to get you hurt. You haven't done any return to sport testing. You haven't done one rep max testing. Like there's so many layers to it. And unless you have a coach that truly understands both the rehab and the sport, you're kind of left on the sidelines, and the chance of re-injuring is much higher.
Yes, and to feed off of what you just said, there aren't many people who understand our sport out there.
Right.
We are a very niche sport, a
Hmm.
very niche demographic of people that
Yeah.
so to find someone or have someone as accessible as you are to kind of know exactly, okay, I've been there, I've felt this, I know what you need to do to get there, leads us
Right.
kind of into to the program that you created. Um, would be your initial turbo program.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that come about? Did you just find there was a need for it, or felt the need that you needed to give back to the sport that you became, yeah, you know and loved?
Yeah, great question. A little bit of both. So when I first got my first job out of grad school, I was working in like your traditional big box physical therapy, insurance based. I was at one point at my peak, I was probably treating like close to 65, 70 clients a week. And it was just massive burnout, massive burnout. I wasn't getting any rest. I wasn't getting better as a clinician, and I wasn't getting the results out of my clients that I really wanted. So I had a friend who actually my strength and conditioning coach at the time. His wife was a physical therapy going through the same stuff I was going through, and she said, "You know what? I'm going to leave. I'm opening up my own business, and I'm going to do everything cash based, so we can make it a little bit more like specialized." And I think that was really important. So I left. I started working with her, and I recognized that a lot of my clientele were finding me through martial arts. They knew who I was from the community, and I was able to market and create kind of my own schedule and my own resume in terms of who my clients were. So I started marketing a lot to the local martial arts schools. I was doing free injury prevention seminars like the MMA gyms, the boxing gyms, and I ended up having a full calendar of almost exclusively combat athletes. And I just really enjoyed it. They got better faster. And then during COVID, we started shifting on like, okay, how can we still create an online platform where we can remotely coach people? Because the truth of the matter is, let's say, Kyle, you hurt your back, right? And you come to me once a week, like that's an hour out of how many hours in the week that I don't know what you're doing. And I can give you a piece of paper that says, hey, do this, do that. But you're probably not going to do it, right? There's no accountability. We're not staying in touch. So we tried to like flip that entire model on its head. So now you don't need to come and see me, right? We'll do an initial evaluation and, I can do that over a video call, but I'm going to set you up on an app where I'm going to customize your workouts, however many days of the week that I need you to, and also like whatever works in your schedule. So I have some people that I program twice a week, some 3, 4, 5 days a week, right? And then you have to check in. So there's accountability. You have to check off that you do it. If you don't check off that you did it, I can see that. It triggers me. So I know. So there's accountability. There's specialized programming. It's multiple days in the week. Like, and it just flips the entire model. It's like there's really no reason for you to go back to insurance-based training ever because you have everything you need right here in this program. And it's all individualized. The things I'm going to give you are not the things I'm going to give, Bailey Murphy, and not the same things I'm going to give Tyson Ray, and not the same things I'm going to give Dawson Holt. You know what I mean? Like everybody is different and needs different things. And that's what this program allows me to do.
And I feel like in our sport, that personalized attention truly helps take our athletes to that next level. I mean,
Mhm.
and I know working in a group class is great, but if I could personally work with you one on one,
Yeah.
the changes I can make every day or at least twice, you know what I mean? Like things like that and those personal private lessons that we've all done
Mhm.
through our career, it's that same model. You're pretty much just getting private lessons on PT.
Basically, yeah, and it's for your body, your needs, your goals. Everything is different. Not everybody wants to be a world champion. Some people just want to be a little bit more athletic, and that's fine too. Every knee injury is different. You can have on paper the same injury, but two different body types, two different schedules, a fighter versus a forms competitor. I mean, the rehab is completely different. So, having a little bit more insight into the sport helps me guide that blueprint so that you can get better faster. And our my team so far that's been consistent on the circuit has been crushing it. They do really well and their results speak for themselves.
Absolutely. We see the highlight videos, you getting tagged in them and this and that. I know a lot of it is probably done behind the scenes. But there are a couple times where I'll see the shout out, but I don't think you
Mhm.
do it for that recognition. I think you just do it for the love of the sport and the love of making sure that person is being the best they can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about the sport. I'm passionate about athletes staying active. Like you could be the best athlete in the world, but if you can't stay healthy enough to show it, who cares, right? No one knows. So, I when I was younger, I always thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. Oh, that was very far from the truth. But I had no idea I was going to be a professional kickboxer. That was like kind of down the road. But when I first had my first major injury, I fell in love with PT and I realized, like, hey, I could be the guy helping everybody else stay on the field or stay on the court or stay on the mats. And it just morphed into this, and it's been awesome. So really, my goal is just to keep spreading the word and let people know. I'm not the only person that does stuff like this. There are some others. I'm biased. I think my program is better than everybody else's, but I think my knowledge base is different. My degree is different. My experience is different. So I'm like I said, I'm biased. I think my program is fantastic. For the individual, but my goal is to just influence as many people as I can and help people be the best versions of themselves.
Absolutely. Now, where can they can DM you? I'm assuming on Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
just to collect more information, or talk to you, chat with you, see what's the best way to go about it. So, if someone is interested about pursuing the Turbo program, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, best way is just through my social media. So Instagram and Facebook are both available. All of my content goes out on both platforms. I'm probably a little heavier on Instagram. I think my bigger following is probably there, but either one is fine. I've had clients from both DM me and send me messages, but certainly, I mean, interact with one of the posts that I put up, shoot me a comment or anything like that. And just shoot me a dry DM and just say you have questions. And, I'm happy to, just because you reach out to me, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to cost you money, right? It's one of those things where we have to make sure that I'm the right fit for you and you're the right fit for me. So until we know that that's going to be a cohesive bond, we're not even going to get talking on, costs and things like that. So I would say if you're not sure, if you're hesitant, just reach out. Free consults for everybody. I love just chatting about it. I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff too. So, I'm happy to just chat and give you the best advice. There's been several people where I'm like, hey, I don't think I'm the right person for you. Go here, right? Or do this instead, or try this first before you come to me. That's important. That's a good sign of a good coach as well. I can't do it all.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know if they follow you on Instagram, not all your videos are you so seriously in the ring or this and that. We've seen
Yeah,
the MTV Cribs hospital
yeah, man.
editions. So as you guys are seeing from this just this little bit of conversation, Ross is a great guy. He's got a good sense of humor and he's really passionate about it. Even though most of the videos we've seen, like I said, are him taking people's heads off in the ring, but that's the switch that he has. He knows when he's got to have it on and when he can just be Ross Levine.
Well, I also think there's a big problem nowadays, and this is just the way that society is. There's a big difference between Instagram versus reality, right? And you see all the time so serious and it's only one way. It's like that is not how real life is. So, I purposefully keep my followers in tune with my personal life because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like sometimes I have a hard day. I made a post the other day about, I just got a tattoo of my daughter's feet on tops of my feet and I got hit with all this emotion. A lot of people don't know my story from that, but go read the post and you'll understand. But like people need to see that I'm a human being too, and like amongst all of that, I still find time to be a good partner, a good husband, a good father, a good coach, and I make time to take care of myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, I can't be that version for everybody else, right, Maddox?
Right? Go ahead. What do you want to say? You wanted to say something. What do you want to say?
Come on, you're live on the air, millions of people watching you. What do you got to say, Maddox? Can I at least get a thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up.
There we
Yes.
go. We got thumbs up. All right. Always wants to be involved. We had Miss Maggie on last week, right?
Ooh,
Well,
did you know that did you talk to Miss Maddie Maddox?
did you talk to Miss Maggie last week?
Did you know that Miss Maggie was one of my very first karate instructors?
You
You
did. We
did?
did talk about that. Miss Maggie did
Ah.
because I did tell her you were going to be on,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and he was being very shy.
Oh, that checks
Right?
out.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So now you went to retirement.
Mm.
You thought about retirement. You did retirement, and now we are coming out of retirement, which I think is absolutely. I think is absolutely incredible. I'm super excited for this. But how did you? How did you know you wanted to come out of retirement? How did you know this was the fight you wanted to do? If you or was this the fight you wanted to do if you came out of retirement?
Well, so let me make sure I correct everything. I'm going to correct everybody right now. I am still until I step back in that pit. I'm still officially retired. So happily retired. However, that fight excites me. I think it's a name that had been brought up to me before I retired, and it just never really worked out because Uriah was doing a lot of boxing. He was doing a bunch of different things. He was still making a push in the UFC. So he was a little bit tied up with a few things, and I know he had come to a couple events. Uriah and all have trained together. So, like, I know him well. He's a really nice guy, really good person, incredible martial artist. He was always someone that I think, and I think the community believes, would be just a fireworks fight. You got two guys who really don't want to wrestle, who want to strike, who want to knock each other out. And that's an awesome skill set to kind of put on display for karate combat. I think that rule set kind of fits our style. So when I heard he was coming to karate combat, I just made a couple posts. And to be fair, I made it seem like the fight was already guaranteed. It's not. We're waiting. So Uriah is making his debut on Friday for karate combat. And then assuming he wins, then, we'll potentially negotiate.
So from all the hype that drew immediately, nothing is signed on the dotted line yet.
No, nothing is signed on the dotted line. I was just trolling the internet, but it works pretty well
I
because
was gonna say,
I'll tell him something.
tell me, hurry.
Where's your skeleton?
Oh, he's over there. He's hanging
he's
out on the
taking a lunch
side.
break.
Oh.
He's
Yeah,
the
yeah, he's got
skeleton's
to
taking a
eat.
lunch break.
He's got no muscles on his bones.
He's got to go see Turbo.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
nothing signed on the dotted line yet. He has to get through his debut, which he's got a tough fight ahead of him. So hopefully he wins that, and then really it's up to the promotion. It's up to Uriah what he wants to do. Um, and to be completely honest with you, man, I mean, like it, they're gonna have to open up their checkbook. There's I am very happy with where I'm at right now. I love being able to spend all my time coaching and doing that. So for me to step away from that and get back into like full competition mode, I mean, obviously I'm still training. I'm in great shape. I'm ready to go. But it would have to be something that was more life changing and substantial for me to step away. Because why would I do it for, why would I even do it for $100,000? My gym, I'm very fortunate. My gym profits that in a year. I could not spar for an entire year, never get touched and make the same amount of money. So what is the incentive? It's got to be something that changes my life, changes the course of my daughter's life, pay for a couple years of college. You know what I'm saying? So like we're gonna make it worthwhile, and then I'm gonna put on a hell of a fight and I'm gonna knock Uriah Hall out. And if it never happens, I'm chilling right here. I got this. I'm good. I'm gonna knock out everything else.
well, I'm glad I'm getting that on clip. So when it does, if it does happen, I'm gonna
Yeah,
reclip
man.
this, and you can have it there that week on October 28th at 12:37
That's
English
it.
date and time. And you got
Yeah.
the Magic Mac, like Conor McGregor used to say, "I'm gonna
Mystic
knock him
Mac.
out with
Yeah,
this."
yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I think the best thing that the sport karate world can do is, the more support I have and the more people that are commenting. I mean, it blew up on social media, like all in the karate combat post. People were pretty hyped about it and everyone was commenting. I mean, I think the hype behind me fighting him was greater than anybody else. So, as long as that continues, then we can make that happen. I think I don't see why he wouldn't want to take that fight. So
No,
I'm
I'd
really
be
excited
excited to
for it.
watch that fight. Both you guys
Yeah.
have that knockout ability and that explosive mentality out there. That at any split
Mm.
second,
Something
it can go
crazy can
one way or
happen.
the other.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
no.
So we'll see.
Oh, so I'm excited. But I understand. But also, people I don't think understand. Like you said, it has to be worth your while. I've done 2 cage fights myself. So getting locked in the cage is not always the best experience. Or
Well,
in
I
the in
think
the
people, don't get me wrong, I love it. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't miss it. So I do miss competition. I think when I didn't retire because I didn't want to keep doing it. I retired because the game wasn't the same to me. I think the karate combat was a little different. I wasn't getting the caliber of fighters that I wanted. I wasn't getting the payday that reflected it because I wasn't getting those bigger name opponents. So it was just the right time in my life to say, all right, let me put all this on pause. Let me step away. Let me focus on, because dude, people don't see what it takes on the other end. It's a lot of selfish work that has to be done. And I'm very grateful to have a crazy good support system. My wife is amazing. She understands it. She helps me. She's always in my corner. So it's one of those things where not everybody is as lucky as I am, but it takes a lot, and like none of this stuff is possible if I'm doing all of my, if I'm putting so much emphasis and effort into competition. So, it's very difficult. I've never seen a world champion, like a current active world champion who also owns a successful business. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, that time people don't realize when you once you open those doors for your own place,
Yeah,
though the clock never stops with people messaging you this
you're
that
right.
clients lessons. You have to give a piece of yourself away.
Yeah.
And when you go into that cage, the pit, the whatever it is,
Hmm.
everything has to become second nature.
Right.
Everything has to come second to that.
You're right.
And when you have a family, a full family,
Hmm.
so now really, like you said, it has to be worth something for
Time is
your
limited.
daughter.
Yeah, time is limited. I mean, again, I'm very fortunate that my PT recovery job, Turbo Sports Performance, is remote, so I can kind of make my own schedule for the most part. This is afternoon work, and my wife is amazing. So I also have support here. You know, I have students that are advanced that can coach and help. So if things go well, which we hope it does, and we can make this thing happen and blow this up, you know, I think it would be great for Karate Combat. I think this is the fight they need to kind of put them back in the swing of things of being, you know, one of the most dominant sports in the world. So if they can make that happen, I know I have the support that would give me the time to make a full, you know, a real training camp, not nothing kind of like halfway.
Now, you mentioned your other half about being very supportive. When you talked to her, when you talked to her about this, I don't personally meeting her a couple times, I don't even think she hesitated on saying, go do it.
No, she said
No,
absolutely not.
she said, absolutely not.
She said, "There's no way you're doing it."
Oh, all right. I'll
She was
see.
like,
Having
"Nah, buddy, you're done." She's like, "Nah, man, you're done. You're done." And I was like, "All right, let me just push their buttons. Let me just push their buttons." So,
until that checkbook comes out and she's like, honey,
well,
give me
and
that
then
check.
so that was kind of the determining factor of like, hey, if we can, and I always said, you know, it's really tough because I always said I would never fight because I needed money. And the thing is I don't need money. But if I'm going to fight, I want to be rewarded. You know, and this would not be for me too, there's still a lot of ego involved in it and there has to be. So, if I go to fight, if this happens and I get paid what I want to get paid and we can make this fight happen, this fight also gets me up in the morning. You know, it's not just some random person who like, all right, I'm not going to train hard because I know I'm going to make a bag. Like, no, this is a fight where it could really put a massive statement on my career. And like Uriah Hall is somebody I respect, somebody I want to knock out, somebody that I think would look amazing on my resume. I would love to put his head on my mantle. You know, those are all things that I'm dead serious about. And I also want to be rewarded for it. So, you know, and I think it's deserve that kind of fight is deserving of that. You know, so I would absolutely be putting every ounce of my body and time that I was able to into that fight, and it would be well worth it.
Definitely, definitely. And kind of to go off of what you just said about like being rewarded, this might not be even on topic of what our general topic was for today, but it popped into my head. Um, I feel like a lot of fighters in our realm are following that same kind of persona of wanting to be rewarded for the job they're doing out there. The bigger
Mm.
push, like with Maggie, the female fighters, the paying this, the paying that. This is what you got to look forward to in a couple of
Get
years.
to the chopper. Get to the chopper.
So you and Tagging, you brought out the kid in him
You
before we
know,
got started. So
it's all good.
there was no taming him
I see
before.
the helicopter.
That's
But
such a cool helicopter.
all right, we'll put it off to the side for a second. So I think a
Fly it,
lot more
Maddox,
athletes
fly it around the room. Fly it around the room 15 times.
But it doesn't have my remote.
doesn't have a remote.
Oh, bummer.
That means he's got to do the work.
I know. Less fun that way.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot more of this newer generation is following that mindset of like, I need to be rewarded for my work instead of
Mm,
just give, give, give. And one of the biggest things that with my tournament, my event, things like that, is NIL is a big thing. Your name,
yeah.
image, and likeness, and being rewarded for the work that you are putting in to get there you should be compensated.
Mm,
You should know your value, I believe. And I think a
yeah.
lot more athletes need to understand their value too.
Well, that's it. I think it's hard because technically, you know, sport karate rides a very thin line where we're not a professional sport, but you can get paid. So it's kind of like one of those weird gray areas because there's no like commission involved. So, you know, I think it makes it really difficult because everyone wants more money, but then again, there's not as many competitors as there were when I was competing. So, you know, and there's more tournaments, so it's easy to spread out. There's less like prestige behind every tournament now. So I understand it from both sides. I mean, to demand the promoters give more money is challenging. But at the same time, like costs are going up and prize money's not going up. So it's a never ending. It's this like seesaw of ideas, and I don't think it ever changes. You know?
No, we're stuck in the same rabbit hole sometimes over and over and over.
Yeah.
What do they say? The level of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
It is the truth. But you know, it's I think that's the type of part where The athlete has to recognize what the end of the line is and what's next. I think the one thing that I would say I wish sport karate could have done a better job of is providing a platform to say, okay, this is what's next. They just don't do that. They will keep you in the loop until you're 75 years old and can't do it anymore. So
Absolutely.
I think there has to be a transition point for some of these young adults that can go and move on and do something different at a professional level if they want to.
Kind of and exactly kind of like you did, but you did it on your own.
I
But
wish I would have done it earlier, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at the reward that I can tell you right now. I had zero financial literacy as a kid. I was very successful. I won a lot of tournaments. I did a lot of seminars. I traveled all over the world. I have no idea where that money is. It was gone. It was gone before it hit my bank account. You know what I mean? I was spending it on stupid stuff. So I had no idea what I was doing, but I was into you think about when I was at my peak, probably between like 25 and 28 years old, 3 years where in a 52-week calendar, I was probably competing or doing a seminar easily 35 weeks out of the year. Easily. That's conservative, right? And I was winning a majority of it. So you're figuring at least $1,000. I mean, what 25-year-old do you know that's making, 35K or more from a hobby? I don't know where that money is. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah.
there's no turnaround for any of these fighters or these competitors where it's like, okay, what's next? Why isn't there more of a push to get the forms and weapons competitors into Hollywood? Why is NASCA not a feeder system to the stunt world? Why is NASCA not a feeder system to, okay, here's point karate, but here's also light contact and here's also full contact like Waco does. But Waco's a professional league. So like, there's things that it could do better. I think there's certain people that now have the ability to make that change. You got guys like Justin Ortiz, who's really heavily into stunts, but where is Mark Canonizato? Where is Arnold Chan? Where is John Valera? Arnold is doing a lot of work, but funny enough, Arnold is doing a ton of work with kickboxers and MMA fighters. And you're seeing him kind of bring them back and forth. So, but like, where are those guys that are so deep into stunts? Where's Matt Emig? Where's Caitlin Deschelle? Like, where are they pushing? And this is not me attacking them. It's like, but we have the numbers now of people that have been successful. Like, they should be running instead of a JPM camp at US Open, there should be a stunt acting camp at US Open. Get the eyeballs on them. There should be more like, hey, this is the transition from sport karate to full contact. You've got guys, myself, Raymond Daniels, even Bailey has done a little bit, Robbie Lavoie, Jack Felton. Like, you have these people who have gone and done it. Why not utilize that and show there's another level? I think that's what needs to happen.
And I love all of those ideas. I mean, they are, you're not wrong. I mean, think about when we were actively competing, how active Sideswipe was.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Sideswipe
right.
was in
Huge.
music videos, in concerts, in this and that. They were massive.
Yep.
Now, and to be on Sideswipe was like, as a forms and weapons competitor, it was
Yeah.
the place you wanted to be.
Well, and then you had guys like Steve Tirada that ventured into dance, and he was on, America's Best Dance Crew, right?
With the
So,
Jabberwockies, right?
not Jabba. I don't think he was part of Jabberwockies. He was part of one of the other crews. I can't
Oh,
remember who it was, but yeah, I mean, I think Steve is still involved in dance. So there's just so many opportunities that are just untouched, and we could do better.
I love it. Like I said, I didn't mean to go completely off topic, but I know you observe the sport a lot from not only the inside but the outside, not
Yeah,
being at all the competition. So it's good to definitely hear that outside feedback, and especially as a new up and coming promoter, things and ideas that I want to start changing within the game and trying to bring value to our competitors. I think is a key. But
yeah,
flipping back on script, back to here, will be so we talked about all the turbo things. We talked about your academy. We talked about everything else. We talked about your career leading up to that, that transition. Before we depart today, is there anything else you want to drop on these guys, to reach out to you? Anything mindset wise, anything of that sort?
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I mean, I think we covered all some really awesome and important topics. I guess the biggest thing is, you know, using this platform to say, like, number one, thank you for bringing me on and asking me questions, letting me chat about what I'm passionate about. If anybody is out there that is looking for some help, whether it's injury related, rehab side, or just you want to be a better athlete, I'm your guy. So shoot me a DM, reach out to me, Facebook, Instagram. I'm very easily accessible. Let's have a conversation, kind of see where it goes from there. But I'd be happy to help.
And Ross, we appreciate you as always jumping on as one of the legends of the sport and still actively.
Nice to meet you.
Maddox says,
Nice
"Nice to
meeting
meet
you,
you."
Maddox.
We appreciate you having this conversation with us, and I'm super excited for next week. Someone you know very well, someone I know very well, and someone who always speaks his mind. I'm not going to drop it yet, but hopefully for next week we have you guys on here, and maybe you can jump in and chat a little bit with him also.
Sounds good.
All right, Ross, I appreciate you guys always. Guys, this is episode 3 of Matt Time Sport Karate Conversation. As always, we'll catch you next week. Comment on below, share this video, and let's get it out and about. I appreciate you guys.